Hello everyone. I have to do another video comparing budget glass in a higher magnification versus premium glass in a lower magnification. I've been working at this for about almost a year and a half at this point, and today I have absolutely come to a definitive absolute conclusion. Okay, so over here I got the Primary Arms PLX. Okay, that's a 1:8 compact, so this only goes up to 8 magnification, but this is Japanese glass. Versus here, switch hands, this one's also Primary Arms. This is SLX, okay, but this goes up to 10 magnification. Okay, and if you notice, this one says by 28. Okay, so this is a 28 tube, a 28 millimeter lens versus the 24 millimeter lens. Okay, so what they're doing with the budget scope is they're giving you a bigger scope with bigger lenses to make up for the fact that maybe they're using less than premium glass. Okay, so I've been like kind of fussing with this for about a year and a half. My initial impression when I first started comparing these two scopes was that the cheaper scope with the more magnification was more of a benefit, when you're looking at this. I did I think it was a year and a half ago. Basically, I put some paper out at 100 yards, 110 yards, 120 yards, put some bullet holes in it, and basically I was looking at it with one scope, looking at it with the other scope, and it seemed to me like I could see it better with 10x. But that was at 100 yards, so I'm like, maybe it's just a 100-yard thing. Maybe if I go out to 500 yards, maybe it will appear a little bit differently. Maybe the premium glass will outshine it. And I did that, and now obviously I couldn't see like bullet holes, so I'm looking at like structures, I'm looking at frames, and I'm like, yeah, maybe the premium one at 500 yards, 600 yards, maybe that does seem a little bit clear. I put that aside, and then I think almost like 8 months or almost a year later, I took both scopes off the rifle, right? So I wanted to get out to an area, because the other two tests, I did them at gun ranges, right? And I wanted to get away from the gun range and get out into the real world and look at things, look at real things and people moving and and ships out there at distances. That cargo ship over there, that's actually an oil tanker. That oil tanker is at 1,300 yards. So I wanted to look at that, and I did this test last week. When I was looking at the ships out there, my initial thought was that the 10 magnification was beating the 8 magnification premium glass. That was my initial thoughts. And again, I was looking at cargo ships. I was looking at the lettering on the cargo ships, out at like 1,000 yards. And it seemed to me like the 10X initially was doing a little bit better. Initially, I gave it to the cheaper scope with the more magnification. But then I started looking like at the far distance, at some of the at the bridges and the far distance over there, like 10 miles away. And like, what? I think at distance, maybe the premium glass, I can see the structures, like the bridge frames and the cranes, I can see them a little bit darker. Maybe there's more resolution there. And that's what it kind of seemed to me like. So I'm like, at 10 miles away, it seems like the Japanese glass is doing better. If you're going to be looking through the scope all day of doing observation, maybe this is the better choice. Okay, so today I came here with a totally different intention. I was mostly working with the PLX scope, the premium one, and I did a prior video on leading targets and basically specifically factoring in time of flight. Right, so I was working on that, and I was working on that with this, like for a couple of hours with this PLX premium scope. Okay, so I got very comfortable with this, was using this, and here's the thing, for leading targets, that's when first focal plane really matters. Okay, because what would happen is a lot of times I was kind of leading the targets in like 3 power, and then I would have to either zoom in or zoom out. And here's the thing, when you're zooming in and out, you need a first focal plane scope so that the measurements that you take will hold true in all magnification, right? Because what I was doing is like I was basically timing, as the cars or the boats were passing a certain point, I was timing it. But then I would have to zoom in or out So as I was zooming in and out, I needed that to hold true. So for that, first focal plane is like really the only option. Okay, you can do it in second focal plane, but you're stuck at one magnification, and if you need to move to a different magnification, you got to time it all over again. Okay, that's for the second focal plane. So that's why I was working with the first focal plane. I was doing this for a couple of hours, and then I was about to pack it up, and I'm like, let me pull out this other scope here, and let me take a look at those. You know, take a look out there and see what I see. So I had observed that ship out there, that oil tanker over there, you know, throughout the day, and I can, you know, it's an oil tanker. I could read it right with the 8 power premium glass. I could see where it said "no smoking" in big letters on the face of that oil tanker. It says "no smoking," and underneath it says "safety first." Okay, in slightly smaller letters, right? So I have 2 different size letters. So this is kind of like going to the eye doctor now and reading an eye chart, and you know, because you got big letters and you got little letters, and you're trying to read the letters, you know. So I was doing that with the 8 power premium glass over here. So now I pull out the 10 power, right? 10 power but cheaper quality glass. I put it on that oil tanker, and it is so much easier to read those letters at 1,300 yards with the 10 magnification, regardless of the fact that this might be, you know, less than premium glass. In fact, this scope says made in China, so it's Chinese glass. Okay, so I'm absolutely decided on this, right? I've absolutely 100% not second guessing myself anymore. When it comes to seeing at distance, right? Particularly in that 500, you know, in that 300 yard to like 1,500 yard range, which is the range that we are likely to be shooting in and doing observation. And you know, now obviously we're not going to be shooting at like 1,300 yards where that ship is over there, but we might be doing observation and then closing in and that kind of stuff. So at the distance that you're likely to be working in, right, more magnification beats premium glass between these 2 primary arm scopes. Now maybe if you go to a different, you know, to a different name brand, that might be different. It might be different, but within primary arms, right? As far as just being able to do observation at distance and just see what's out there so that you can hit it. The 10x cheaper glass beats 8x Japanese glass. No doubt about it. Absolutely made up my mind. Okay. Now, like I said, the main advantage to the, because remember, this is a $450 scope. So as far as seeing out there, the $450 scope beat the $1,500 scope here, right? So this is the, like I said, this is the PLX M8. Okay, right. So the $450 scope beat the more expensive scope. Now, part of the $1,500 is the size. You're paying $1,500 to also shrink the scope down, right? So it's not just a matter of, you know, getting better glass. It's also a matter of getting a lighter scope. So the weight difference is with the mounts, right? And these are the same mounts, Aerial Precision. This one comes in at 1 pound 5 ounces. This one's 1 pound 8 ounces. Okay, so there's a 3 ounce. So the cheaper scope is 3 ounces heavier. Okay, so 1 pound 5 ounces, 1 pound 8 ounces. Okay, a 3 ounce difference. So that's, you know, it's also obviously shorter, right? See how it's shorter? It looks like it's shorter by, I don't know, about 1.5 inches, right? So you're paying for the compactness of this scope. But as far as my use, right, where the value that I see in this scope is in leading targets, because you're able to go to that first focal plane and time the targets that are moving, and then basically zoom in, zoom out, and the timing that you made holds true in all magnification. So that's why my choice is the $1,500 scope, as far as like the scope that, like I say, if I could only have one scope, yeah, it would be this $1,500 scope, because it easily allows me to execute that moving, that shooting, and leading moving targets. But for most people, right, this $450 scope, this SLX 1-10 by 28. Okay, this is going to be a great scope option for you at a very good price, and it has all the great capabilities in there. Let me show you guys in show you guys through the glass. I'm going to keep it in 1 power. So with this, it doesn't matter if you're zoomed. Yeah, you're going to be able to see the reticle, if I can line it up. So you're going to be able to see the reticle in 1 power or in 10 power, because what happens when I zoom in, the reticle size doesn't change. Okay, so you see that spine that goes up and down, that spine helps you kind of lead you to the center for like fast target acquisition. So, and you got basically in now you have to be in 8 power. When you zoom up to 8 power, those mill lines are great for auto ranging, and also you got the auto ranging feature on the side. But again, you have to be in 8 power. In 1 power, none of that stuff's any good. So I'm gonna zoom up to 8 power. Let me see if I can give you guys an image of this SLX scope. Let me see if we're able to see this, because now with the eye box usually gets pretty crappy. See if we can line it up. No, let me see. Right. Cool. Let me go further out and bring it in. Okay, hold on. See if we can put it on that ship. Right. Yeah, okay, well I got you some bicycles. Swing over a little bit. Okay, hold on, I think we found the ship. Now there's a focus, like when I look through the scope, I can read the signs on that ship very clearly. The reason you can't read it is because the camera's not focusing. See if I go back to 3 power. Yeah, so the out of focus is because of the camera, because it doesn't know what to look at. It doesn't know whether to look at the glass, or it doesn't know whether to look at the reticle or the ship. So it's not looking at the right thing for focusing. Go up to 8. No, it's 1. 10. Sorry, 10 power. Alright, my arms are getting tight. I think you were able to kind of read the sign on that ship through the glass that says Bermuda, but that's pretty big. But you can actually read much smaller letters on, on the white, further back on the ship with this. So anyway, bottom line is this is an excellent scope for people, because this scope, if you show up to a class, right, you can pretty much do, like you can do milling, you can do range estimating, you can because there's a mill grid in there, you can do wind holds. This scope allows you to do all the advanced stuff that you would be able to do, let's say, on a $1,500 scope, because you have all that information in there. Now the only thing is, like I said, you have to be in 8 magnification in order for those measurements to mean anything. When you're in 1 magnification, the only purpose of all that other information is just kind of like guide you to the center, right? So when I was in 1 power, right? So when you're in 1 power, yes, it's so much easier to find the eye box, so that spine kind of basically guides you to the center. All that those lines and that stuff. So that's the only value that stuff has in 1 power. Now if you look, Hey, when I started going off into a tangent about leading targets with this particular scope, and I think I just want to do a separate video on that. So this video, I just want to let you guys know that if you're on a budget, $450, this SLX 10 power from Primary Arms, $450, it's going to serve you well. Okay, you will be able to do everything that you can on that $1,500 scope. The only drawback is with leading targets, leading moving targets. Other than that, I mean, I think this is an excellent scope. You're going to see what you need to hit at distance. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all soon.